Now we're just adding this vinaigrette. That's all it really is. Right, very beautiful, very colorful, really simple. Hey, it's Greg here with MaritimeGardening.com, and today I'm going to make some coleslaw using some leftover pickle juice from my bread and butter pickles. If you want to learn how to make bread and butter pickles, just check out that recipe. You don't need leftover bread and butter pickle juice to make this coleslaw. I'll give you some alternatives in the description box. Basically, you can use dill pickle juice and just add a little extra sugar, or you can just use a combination of sugar and water and vinegar, that sort of thing. But anyway, we love bread and butter pickles in this house. We always have leftover bread and butter pickle juice. It's just got so much more character than vinegar and water and sugar and spices and all that good stuff. So why not? So let's get started. So all you need to make this recipe is about half a cabbage. You need a quarter cup of mayonnaise, a quarter cup of leftover pickle juice, a little bit of salt, like between a teaspoon and a tablespoon, depending on what kind of pickle juice you've got, and some salt and some pepper, and a little mustard. That's all you need. So let's get started. Let me bring in here and show you how to cut this thing up. So one thing I'm always going on about in my videos is knife skills, and I think this is a perfect example. You can cut this up using a food processor, but you can actually cut it finer if you cut it by hand using a knife, if you've got the skills. So just removing the heart here. And the trick is to cut this into about, I don't know, some manageable pieces, like 6 or 5 slices. Cut your half of your cabbage into about 5 slices like this. All right, so I'm going to set these aside for now. So all we got to do is take the slice and start cutting. All right, and I'm going to show you how to do this with different knives. It doesn't matter if you got a knife like this, or a lovely chef's knife like this, or you got a meat cleaver like this. And you notice they all have a bit of a patina. They're not stainless steel, they're high carbon steel. I find you can get, if you get a carbon steel knife, yes, they can rust, but you get the performance of like a $300 knife for about 20, 30, 40, 50 bucks. So I think this knife, really sharp, wonderful knife. I think I got this for 15 bucks. I mean, I got it for 15 bucks in the 90s, a little while ago. Anyway, I bought these two more recently, and they're both less than 50 bucks, or give it around there. So let's start with the chef's knife. All right, so, I mean, this isn't a video on knife skills. I just want to show that this can be done by hand. You don't need a food processor. Right, so if I want to do it extra fine, I'm just running it along my finger here at an angle where it won't bite into my finger, like this, right? So I can go further quick, right? Or I can go, if you're learning this, just take it easy. And just put on a podcast or, whatever you like to listen to, some music, get some tunes going, and just work your way away, right? And you can get it, you can get that paper thin if you want, right? I mean, that's pretty thin there. Right? I mean, that's not going to get much thinner than that, right? Right? Or if you're in a rush, you can just, speed it up a little bit. You just go the pace you can, go without losing an appendix. And you'll learn over time how to hold the cabbage in place and control it, and ways to do this without losing an appendage. We're getting this pretty thin, right? I'll hold this up a little closer to the camera in a second here, just when I get this all done. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty nice, right? We got that nice and thin. That's like finer than 1/16 of an inch, right? Finer than a millimeter. So that's 1/5. We're 1/5 done already. Right, so it's not hard, right? It's a little bit messy, but okay, so that's using a chef's knife. You got one of these more sort of all-purpose knife, the kind of knife maybe your grandmother would have had, Depression era sort of all-purpose knife. They work great too. I like taking the long part off, trapping that down as a separate piece, and then you use this sort of short, hardy piece as a separate one. Anyway, with this one, same technique. I don't know if that's in the way. Shave off that, then we trap it down like this. I like to take it on a bit of an angle. I mean, again, you can use a food processor for this. But I'll tell you, a single knife is a lot easier to clean up than a food processor. Makes sense to use a food processor if you're doing other stuff that needs a food processor as well. You got sort of a production line going, right? But you can get her done pretty quick. I find the bigger knives safer and easier to use than a small one like this, but it's totally doable. And of course, all of these knives, right, I honed them with a sharpening steel before I started. Pretty much any time I need to do something, unless I'm spreading butter on the toast, I do that, because your knife will always perform better if you do that. Right, so that's 2/5 of the cabbage cut up. And that's just using an all-purpose, old-fashioned, old-timey sort of knife. Now we got our meat cleaver. Okay, so I'm just going to do the same thing. Peel that piece off and make this a bit thinner. I mean, type of knife is really a question of you, what you like, what feels good in your hand. You notice how I'm not holding it like this, I'm holding it up here like this. Much more control. I didn't mean this to be a knife skills video, I'm sorry about that, I'm just talking as I cut this up. But the one thing I think people are missing these days is just the basic knife skills. I think at the grocery store, I see people buying all this pre-cut vegetables, paying like twice as much for produce because they don't, in my opinion, they don't know how to use a knife. And all these things, I'm 50 years old, I've been developing the skill since I was in my 20s, but right, with a bit of practice and care and a lot of cuts on your fingers, right, you can get pretty quick. So quick that it's actually more convenient to cut it up like this than to use a food processor. The great thing about the meat cleaver, and the reason I think it's so popular with Asian cuisine, is you can pick stuff up with it, right? It's a great tool. So let me just do the rest of this. I'll speed her up so you don't have to listen to me talk through the rest. And I'll take it to the next step. One thing I forgot that I was going to do, just for a little color, because right now we got all this beautiful, light green color. It's always good to have a contrast. Some coleslaw recipes call for adding carrot. That's a nice thing to add. I don't have any carrots, but I got these nice red peppers from my garden. What's it called? Sweet Italia. So I'm just going to add one of these, finely cut up, for some color. These peppers are green when you pick them, but pick them as soon as they get a little bit of color, bring them indoors, and they'll color up really nice. You can leave them out on the vine to color up, but the longer they're outside, the more they risk being attacked by something. Maybe I'll dice that up a little smaller, just so it can sort of mix in with everything. All right. See, that's a nice contrast, right? Okay, let's do the next step. All right, so the next step is to add our vinaigrette. I find before doing that, you add about 2 pinches of salt and just move that around a little bit. Just massage that into the coleslaw. I mean, this is one of these things you can do this right before you're about to eat, but if you let it sit a little bit, it seems to help. Sometimes I actually squeeze this to make it, for some reason it makes it more tender to eat. You just squeeze it a little bit during the stage of the preparation. You can see how it's already lost a bit of volume in this bowl just by doing that. Nothing too crazy, right? But you will find it'll be a little bit softer and a little bit, I can't explain it, but it seems to help it improve the texture and the flavor just by doing a little bit of a scrunching like that. Okay, now we're gonna mix up our vinaigrette. Now I got, the whole reason I'm making this is I got about a quarter cup of mayonnaise. If you want to know how to make mayonnaise from scratch, watch my video using an immersion blender, hand blender. Dead easy. Takes about a minute or two to make mayonnaise from scratch. I'm just going to take this pickle juice, shake it up a little bit, and put about a quarter cup of it into this little measure here. Yeah, it's not a liquid measure, who cares? Close enough. All right, here we got that. I'm going to put a teaspoon of sugar in here. Remember, this is from bread and butter pickles, which are sweet. So this is sweet and tangy. If you're using dill pickle, you want to add more sugar. I'm just going to add a teaspoon, make it a little sweeter. And about a teaspoon of, mustard, or half a teaspoon, 1 teaspoon, half a teaspoon of mustard. That mustard is a, what's it called? There's a term for that. It's just not coming to mind. Helps thicken things up. So add a little mustard in there. It'll give it a little mustardy flavor, but you've already got mustard in your pickling juice anyway. But it's not going to be overpowering, right? What you're going to be enjoying is the sweetness and the mayonnaise. And I just take that and shake it until I notice there's no mayonnaise sticking to the jar. Even if I didn't have leftover mayonnaise, I would mix this up in a jar like this first before adding it here. You can throw all the ingredients into the bowl, but I find it's better just to get all that stuff combined. Okay, that's all done. The other thing I forgot to put in here was black pepper. You can have a half a teaspoon or a teaspoon or more, depending on what you like. I'd say that's somewhere between half a teaspoon and a teaspoon. Okay, now we're just adding this vinaigrette. That's all it really is, with mayonnaise. There's a lovely looking sauce. Now you can add more mayonnaise to this, you can add more pickle juice to this, you can gin it up or gin it down depending on your personal taste, or how wet your family likes the salad. You know, they like it wet, they like it dry, what do they like, right? You can add more salt, you can add more pepper. I find about what I've shown you here is kind of just right. And of course, you can use like a cheese grater and make the coleslaw even finer, right? If you want to have it more like that Kentucky Fried Chicken style. And if you really like that, if you like a Kentucky Fried Chicken, I think I've heard that also called Dolly Parton coleslaw. I don't really know. Just add a little more sugar and a little more mayonnaise, basically. Make it richer and sweeter. Now, it really depends on your taste. Also the tastes of your family, right? If you got people on special diets or whatever, you got to dial things up or down depending on everyone's proclivities and needs and restrictions. Personally, you know, like, I can't think of a better meal than like extra sugar, extra mayonnaise, fried chicken, this, stuff like that. I love all that stuff. And thankfully, at least according to my last blood work, I can still continue to enjoy that. I hope that doesn't change, but you know, they say time is a cruel mistress. Anyway, I think we've mixed this up enough. All right, so that's all you got to do. Now, you know, I put this in a nice tight container and put it in the fridge, and it's all ready for supper. We're going to have something that's going to go really good with this tonight. Great thing about this is you can make a bunch of it and use it over the course of a week. It's a great thing to bring to a party, that sort of thing. I just show you how it looks. Right, very beautiful, very colorful, really simple. You're really not limited in terms of what you can add to it. Again, like shredded carrots, really nice. Sometimes the recipe calls for, you can add onion, especially if you got sweet onion. You don't have to add onion. Some people do, some people don't. It really depends on my mood, right? I just decided to go with the simple thing here. I think the family prefers it without the onion. I can't remember what happened last time. Let's give it a try. I might change my mind and add onion later. Let's give it a go. You know, it's good just like that. Man, that's good. So that's the basic recipe. You can dial it up or dial it down in various ways depending on your taste. You can add more salt, you can add more pepper, you can add more mayonnaise, you can add more pickle juice. Right? You don't want it to be sloppy and wet, but there's a sort of perfect balance for that. What I've just done here is certainly not that. There's no liquid gathering in the bottom here, right? You can add an onion shredded up, you can add more mustard to it, right? There's lots of ways to adjust this just depending on your taste, but this is the basic recipe. So I hope you found this interesting. If you did, please like, share, subscribe. And until next time, get out there, get at it, have fun in your garden, have fun in your kitchen. Thanks for watching. Hey, if you want to help support everything I'm doing here, go to vessies.com to buy whatever you need for your garden this year. And use my coupon code GAVS23 to get free shipping as long as there's a pack of seeds in the order and there's no oversized items in the order. Check out the description box of this video for details. You can buy everything you need from Vessies. They have seeds, fruit bushes and trees, soil amendments, pest solutions, tools, clothing, and lots of other stuff too. So yeah, if you want to help support everything I'm doing here and they sell something you need, buy it from them using my coupon code, and happy gardening.